Discovery and deception. The vast emptiness of space stretched before Captain Alina Reyes as she stood on the bridge of the UES Horizon, Earth's most advanced exploratory vessel. Her dark eyes scanned the holographic displays, searching for any sign of the missing colony ship. It had been 3 weeks since the Stargazer, carrying 10,000 colonists bound for the newly terraformed world of Novaterra, had vanished without a trace. "Any updates, Lieutenant Chen?" Elena asked, her voice tight with concern. The young officer shook his head, his fingers dancing over the sensor controls. "Nothing yet, Captain." "Wait." He paused, leaning forward. "I'm picking up an anomalous energy signature. It's faint, but it doesn't match any known celestial phenomena." Elena's heart raced. "Source: Coordinates 227 Mark IV, Chen replied. "It's coming from an unexplored system just beyond the Orion Arm." "Helm, set course. Maximum speed," Elena ordered. As the Horizon's engines hummed to life, she couldn't shake the feeling that they were about to stumble upon something far beyond their expectations. 3 days later, the Horizon dropped out of FTL on the edge of an unremarkable star system. A yellow dwarf star burned at its center, surrounded by a handful of barren rocky planets and gas giants. But it was the 4th planet that caught Elena's attention. "My God," she whispered as the image resolved on the main view screen. A world of pristine white and icy blue filled their vision, its surface a maze of glaciers and frozen oceans. But it was the structure orbiting the planet that truly took their breath away. A massive space station, easily 10 kilometers in length, hung in geosynchronous orbit. Its design was like nothing they'd ever encountered, all sweeping curves and crystalline spires that seemed to defy the laws of physics. "Life signs?" Elena asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Lieutenant Chen's fingers flew over his console, detecting multiple non-human biosignatures aboard the station. "No sign of our missing colonists." Elena's jaw clenched. "Open a channel." For several tense moments, there was no response. Then, without warning, a holographic figure materialized on the bridge. It was tall and slender, with iridescent skin that shimmered like the surface of a soap bubble. 4 arms emerged from its torso, each ending in delicate, multi-jointed fingers. "Greetings, explorers," the being spoke, its voice a melodious hum that seemed to resonate within their minds. "I am Zalthyrix, emissary of the crystalline Concordat. We welcome you to our research outpost." Elena stepped forward, her posture rigid. "I'm Captain Alina Reyes of the United Earth Ship Horizon. We're searching for a missing colony vessel. Have you encountered any other human ships in this sector?" Zalthyrix's large, multifaceted eyes blinked in a ripple of color. "We have not, Captain. Your species is unknown to us. Perhaps we could arrange a cultural exchange. Our scientists would be fascinated to learn more about your kind." Something about the alien's tone set Elena's nerves on edge. Years of diplomatic training had honed her instincts, and right now, they were screaming that something was very, very wrong. "We appreciate the offer," Elena replied carefully. "But our primary mission is to locate our missing people. If you haven't seen them, we'll continue our search elsewhere." Zalthyrix's skin rippled, a cascade of colors that Elena couldn't begin to interpret. "Of course, Captain. But surely a brief visit wouldn't delay research. We have much to offer in terms of scientific knowledge. Perhaps we could even assist in locating your lost vessel." Elena was about to politely decline when Lieutenant Chen's voice cut through the tension. "Captain, I'm detecting a power surge from the station. They're activating some kind of..." His words were drowned out by a blinding flash of light. Elena felt a wave of dizziness wash over her, and for a moment, the world seemed to blur and shift. When her vision cleared, she found herself standing in a vast crystalline chamber, surrounded by dozens of the alien beings. "Welcome to the Concordat, Captain Reyes," Zalthyrix's voice echoed around her. "We apologize for the deception, but it was necessary. Your species has great potential, and we couldn't risk you refusing our invitation." Elena's hand instinctively went to her sidearm, only to find it missing. "What is the meaning of this?" she demanded. "Where is my crew?" Zaltherix gestured with one of its 4 arms, and a shimmering window appeared in the air. Alina's heart sank as she saw the horizon hanging motionless in space, surrounded by a swarm of crystalline vessels. "Your crew is unharmed," Zaltherix assured her. "They are simply indisposed. We have much to discuss, Captain. The future of your species hangs in the balance." As the alien began to explain, Alina's mind raced. She thought of the missing colonists, of the vast distance between this unknown world and Earth, and of the technologies these beings seemed to possess. Whatever was happening here, she knew one thing for certain. Humanity was about to be thrust onto a galactic stage it wasn't prepared for. But as she listened to Zaltherix's grandiose plans, a small smile tugged at the corner of Alina's mouth. These aliens, for all their advanced technology, had made a crucial mistake. They had underestimated humanity's greatest strength, its ability to adapt, to overcome, and to fight back against impossible odds. The crystalline Concordat thought they had found an easy mark, a primitive species to manipulate and control. They had no idea of the storm they had just unleashed. As Zaltherix droned on about uplifting humanity and integrating them into their grand design, Alina's mind was already formulating a plan. She would play along for now, gathering information and searching for weaknesses. And when the time was right, she would show these arrogant aliens exactly what humans were capable of. The first seeds of resistance were already taking root in Alina's mind. The Concordat's deception would be their undoing, and humanity's fighting spirit would be the key to turning the tables. Little did Zaltherix know, but this was just the beginning of a conflict that would reshape the galaxy and prove once, and for all that humanity was a force to be reckoned with. The fall of Iceball. The frozen world of R67/4, affectionately dubbed Iceball by its human inhabitants, hung like a pale blue marble in the inky void of space. For decades, it had been humanity's farthest outpost, a testament to their ingenuity and determination. Now it was about to become the first battlefield in an interstellar war that no one on Earth even knew was coming. Colonel Alexei Volkov stood at the command center's panoramic window, his steely gaze fixed on the horizon, where Iceball's twin moons were just beginning to rise. The recent communique from Earth had left him uneasy. A routine check-in from the UES horizon had failed to arrive, and there were whispers of strange energy signatures detected at the edge of colonized space. "Colonel," a voice called from behind him, "we're picking up multiple objects entering the system. They're not matching any known signatures." Alexei turned, his face a mask of calm despite the alarm bells ringing in his mind. "Show me." The main holodisplay flickered to life, revealing a swarm of crystalline vessels unlike anything they'd ever seen. They moved with an otherworldly grace, their hulls shimmering with what appeared to be some form of energy shielding. "How many?" Alexei asked, his voice tight. "At least 50 capital ships, sir, and hundreds of smaller craft." Alexei's mind raced. Iceball's defenses were formidable for a colony world, but nothing that could hope to repel a force of this magnitude. He keyed his comm unit. "This is Colonel Volkov. I am declaring threat level Alpha. This is not a drill. All military personnel to battle stations. Civilian population to emergency shelters immediately." As klaxons began to wail throughout the colony, Alexei turned to his second-in-command. "Major Chen, begin emergency data purge protocols. If they're here for our tech, we're not going to make it easy for them." Chen nodded grimly and set to work. Within minutes, the colony was a hive of frantic activity. Families rushed to the underground bunkers carved deep into Iceball's permafrost, while soldiers manned defense turrets and scrambled fighters. The first shots were fired less than an hour later. The alien vessels unleashed a barrage of energy weapons that lit up Iceball's atmosphere like an aurora. The colony's shields held, but Alexei could see they were already beginning to buckle under the assault. "Return fire," he ordered. "All batteries, Concentrate on their lid ships. Let's see if these bastards can bleed. Iceball's defense grid came to life, spitting railgun slugs and plasma bolts at the invaders. To everyone's surprise, several of the smaller alien craft erupted in dazzling explosions. A cheer went up from the command staff, but Alexei's expression remained grim. They had bloodied the enemy's nose, but this fight was far from over. As the battle raged in orbit, a new threat emerged. Alien dropships began to penetrate the weakening shields, landing on the colony's outskirts. Alexei watched in horror as strange, crystalline constructs began to assemble themselves, growing like living structures across Iceball's icy surface. They're not just here to conquer, he realized aloud. They're terraforming, remaking our world in their own image. The next few hours were a blur of desperate fighting. Human soldiers clashed with alien shock troops in the streets of the colony. The invaders were unnervingly fast, their crystalline armor deflecting most conventional weapons. But human ingenuity found ways to even the odds. Improvised thermite charges proved effective at shattering the aliens' crystalline forms, and EMP devices temporarily disrupted their energy weapons. Despite their valiant efforts, it was clear that Iceball was lost. As the alien forces pushed deeper into the colony, Alexei made the hardest decision of his life. Initiate Operation Long Night, he commanded, his voice heavy with the weight of what he was about to do. Major Chen looked at him in shock. Sir, that protocol. It'll destroy everything we've built here. Alexei nodded solemnly. And deny the enemy any advantage they hope to gain. Our people come first, Major. Begin the evacuation. What followed was a carefully orchestrated chaos. As the last of the civilian population was loaded onto emergency shuttles, a select team of engineers and soldiers began to rig the colony's fusion reactors to overload. They would turn Iceball's very core into a weapon against the invaders. Alexei supervised the evacuation from the command center, watching as shuttle after shuttle broke through the weakening enemy lines. The alien forces seemed almost confused by the humans' actions, as if they couldn't comprehend why their prey would destroy everything rather than submit. As the final preparations were made, Alexei allowed himself a moment of reflection. He thought of the generations of colonists who had carved a life out of this frozen world, of the dreams and aspirations that were about to be vaporized. But in their destruction, they would light a beacon of defiance that would be seen across the galaxy. It's time, sir, Major Chen said softly. The last shuttles are away. Alexei took one last look at the world that had been his home for the past decade. The alien structures had already covered nearly a third of the surface, a cancerous growth of crystal and light. He took a deep breath and keyed in the final command code. May God forgive us, he whispered. The command center shuddered as the fusion reactors deep below began their final, catastrophic dance. Alexei and the remains of his command staff raced for the last shuttle, even as the very ground beneath their feet began to crack and split. As their shuttle broke atmosphere, Alexei watched through the viewport as Iceball began to tear itself apart. Fissures of blinding energy erupted across the surface, and for a brief moment, the entire planet seemed to glow from within. Then, in a silent flash that outshone the system's sun, R67/4 exploded. The shockwave caught the alien fleet by surprise, destroying or crippling a significant portion of their forces. Those that survived immediately began to retreat, clearly unprepared for this level of resistance. In the stunned silence that followed, Alexei keyed the shuttle's long-range communicator. This is Colonel Alexei Volkov of Iceball Colony. We are under attack by unknown alien forces. Iceball has fallen. I repeat, Iceball has fallen. But we have struck a blow against our attackers. Earth must be warned. The war has begun. As the ragtag fleet of civilian and military ships limped towards the nearest friendly outpost, Alexei's mind was already racing with plans. The aliens had made a grave miscalculation. They thought they were dealing with a fragile, primitive species. Instead, they had awakened a sleeping giant. Humanity had lost its farthest colony, but in doing so, They had sent a message to the stars. They would not go quietly. They would not submit. And they would make these invaders regret the day they ever set foot in human space. The fall of Iceball was just the beginning. The real war was about to begin. Earth's awakening. The Grand Hall of the United Earth Government in Geneva buzzed with tension. Representatives from every nation and off-world colony had gathered for an emergency session that would determine the fate of humanity. At the center of it all stood Admiral Yuki Tanaka, her weathered face grim as she prepared to deliver the news that would change everything. "Ladies and gentlemen," she began, her voice cutting through the murmur of the crowd. 72 hours ago, we received a distress call from the Iceball colony. They were under attack by an unknown alien force of overwhelming strength and advanced technology. A collective gasp rippled through the assembly. Yuki continued, her voice steady despite the weight of her words. Colonel Alexei Volkov and the brave men and women of Iceball managed to evacuate a significant portion of the civilian population. But in doing so, they were forced to destroy the entire colony to prevent it from falling into enemy hands. Screens around the hall flickered to life, showing the last moments of Iceball as it tore itself apart in a blinding explosion. The silence that followed was deafening. "We are at war," Yuki declared, her words hanging heavy in the air. "And war unlike any we have ever faced. Our enemy possesses technology far beyond our own, and they have already demonstrated their willingness to annihilate us without provocation." The hall erupted into chaos. Shouts of disbelief, anger, and fear echoed off the vaulted ceilings. It took several minutes for order to be restored. "What you're proposing is impossible," the Chinese representative shouted. "We can't hope to fight an enemy with such advanced technology." Yuki's eyes flashed with determination. "We can, and we must. Humanity has always thrived in the face of adversity. It's time we remind the galaxy of what we're capable of." She gestured, and a new set of holograms appeared, showcasing a series of technological marvels that had been hidden from the public eye. "Project Prometheus," Yuki explained, "a joint initiative between our top scientists and military minds. For years, we've been reverse engineering alien tech recovered from crash sites and ancient ruins. We've made breakthroughs in energy weapons, faster than light travel, and even rudimentary force field technology." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Yuki continued, her voice gaining strength. "But our greatest weapon isn't our technology. It's our spirit, our creativity, our unwillingness to submit in the face of impossible odds." She paused, looking around the room. "I'm not going to sugarcoat this. The war ahead will be brutal. We will suffer losses. But I believe that humanity has the strength to not only survive this threat, but to emerge stronger than ever." Over the next several hours, plans were drawn up, alliances forged, and a new era of human unity was born. The petty squabbles of nations faded in the face of extinction, replaced by a singular purpose: survival. Factories across the globe were retooled for wartime production. The lunar and Martian colonies became fortresses, their underground facilities converted into shipyards and weapons laboratories. Every aspect of human society was mobilized for the coming conflict. But even as humanity prepared for war, they didn't forget the lessons of their own history. A message was broadcast across every frequency, in every language, and sent out into the depths of space. To the species known as the Crystalline Concordat, "We, the united people of Earth and her colonies, hereby demand that you cease all hostile actions against us immediately. We desire peace, but we will not hesitate to defend ourselves with all necessary force. Know this: every world you attack, every life you take, only strengthens our resolve. We extend an offer of diplomatic negotiations, but be warned. If you choose to continue this aggression, you will face the full might of humanity, and we will not rest until justice is served." Months passed, and the first waves of Earth's new fleet began to take shape in orbit. Ships bristling with weapons that melded human ingenuity with alien technology. But even as they prepared for the worst, Humanity reached out to the stars, seeking allies among other species who might have suffered at the hands of the Concordat. It was during this time that an unexpected breakthrough occurred. Dr. Aisha Patel, a brilliant xenolinguist, managed to partially decrypt the Concordat's communication signals. What she discovered sent shockwaves through the human leadership. They're not just conquerors, she explained to a hastily assembled war council. They're collectors. They see other species as resources to be harvested and assimilated into their collective. But there's more. They're afraid. Admiral Tanaka leaned forward. Afraid. Of what? Aisha's eyes gleamed with excitement. Of us. Of our potential. They've never encountered a species that fights back with such ferocity. They expected us to submit, to be easily absorbed. Instead, we've become a threat they don't know how to handle. A slow smile spread across Yuki's face. Then we press that advantage. We show them exactly why they were right to fear us. As the council dispersed to put new plans into motion, Yuki found herself standing before the great window overlooking the Earth. The planet seemed so fragile from here, a blue marble suspended in the void. But she knew better. Earth wasn't fragile. It was a crucible that had forged the most adaptable, tenacious species the galaxy had ever seen. The Concordat thought they had found an easy conquest. Instead, they had awakened a sleeping giant. Humanity was no longer just a fledgling spacefaring civilization. They were the vanguard of a new age, the tip of the spear that would reshape the galaxy. As the first ships of Earth's armada began their shakedown cruises, a palpable sense of anticipation filled the air. Humanity had been challenged, and now they would answer. The crystalline Concordat had no idea what was coming for them. Earth was awake, and the stars themselves would tremble. Operation Frozen Vengeance. The bridge of the UES Retribution hummed with barely contained energy as Admiral Alina Reyes studied the holographic display before her. It had been 18 months since her capture and subsequent escape from the crystalline Concordat, and now she stood at the helm of humanity's most advanced warship, ready to strike back. "Status report," Alina commanded, her voice steady despite the weight of what they were about to attempt. Her XO, Commander Jamal Khan, responded crisply. "All systems green, Admiral. The fleet is in position and awaiting your order." Alina nodded, taking a moment to absorb the gravity of the situation. Around the Retribution, a fleet of over 300 ships hung in the void, the combined might of Earth and her colonies, along with a contingent of alien allies who had answered humanity's call for aid against the Concordat. "Open a channel to the fleet," Alina ordered. As the comm officer signaled readiness, she took a deep breath. "This is Admiral Rice to all ships. Today, we strike back against those who thought they could subjugate humanity. Today, we show the crystalline Concordat and the entire galaxy that Earth will not bow to tyranny." She paused, letting her words sink in. "But remember, our goal isn't just victory. It's justice. We fight not only for vengeance, but for all the species who have suffered under the Concordat's oppression. Operation Frozen Vengeance is go. Good hunting, and Godspeed." As the channel closed, Alina gave the command that would change the course of the war. "Initiate jump sequence." In a dazzling display of light, the human fleet vanished, only to reappear moments later in orbit around a familiar ice-covered world. The remade Iceball, now a crystalline fortress of the Concordat. The element of surprise was total. Human ships, employing technology reverse-engineered from captured Concordat vessels, slipped past the planet's early warning systems undetected. By the time the aliens realized they were under attack, it was too late. "All ships, engage at will," Alina ordered. "Ground teams, you have green light for insertion." The space around Iceball erupted into chaos. Human vessels, though outnumbered, fought with a ferocity that caught the Concordat completely off guard. Beams of energy crisscrossed the void, while swarms of fighters engaged in a deadly dance among the larger capital ships. On the surface, drop pods pierced the atmosphere, carrying elite teams of human and allied commandos. Their mission: to infiltrate the Concordat's central command structure and retrieve vital intelligence on their operations throughout the galaxy. Among these teams was a special unit led by none other than Colonel Alexei Volkov, the hero of Iceball's fall. His face was set in grim determination as his pod hurtled towards the crystalline landscape that had once been his home. "Remember," he growled to his team over the comm, "we're not just here for payback. Every bit of intel we gather could save countless lives across the galaxy. Stay focused." As the ground battle raged, the space above Iceball became a graveyard of shattered ships, both human and Concordat. But slowly, inexorably, the tide began to turn in humanity's favor. "Admiral," Commander Khan called out, "we're detecting a massive energy buildup from the planet's surface. It looks like they're trying to activate some kind of superweapon." Alina's mind raced. This wasn't in any of their intelligence reports. "Can we target the source?" Khan shook his head. "Negative. It's too deep underground. Our weapons can't penetrate." For a moment, Alina felt a flash of despair. Had they come so far only to fail at the final hurdle? Then an idea struck her. A crazy, desperate idea. But those were humanity's specialty. "Get me Colonel Volkov," she ordered. Moments later, Alexei's voice crackled over the comm, punctuated by the sound of weapons fire. "Little busy here, Admiral." "Colonel, listen carefully," Alina said, quickly outlining her plan. "Can you do it?" There was a pause, then a grim chuckle. "Just like old times on Iceball. We'll get it done, Admiral." Volkov out. As the space battle raged on, Alexei and his team fought their way deeper into the heart of the Concordat's fortress. They weren't heading for the command center anymore. Their target was the planet's core itself. Using the same protocols that had once destroyed Iceball to deny it to the enemy, they now sought to turn the planet's molten heart into a weapon against the Concordat's superweapon. It was a race against time. As Alexei's team worked feverishly to overload the geothermal taps, the energy readings from the Concordat weapon continued to spike. "We're out of time," Khan shouted on the Retribution's bridge. "Energy levels are critical." Alina gripped her command chair, her knuckles white. "Alexei, please," she whispered. As if in answer to her plea, the surface of Iceball suddenly began to crack and heave. Massive geysers of superheated steam and magma erupted across the crystalline landscape, shattering Concordat structures and disrupting their carefully laid plans. The alien superweapon, on the verge of firing, instead imploded as the planet tore itself apart beneath it. The resulting shockwave rippled through space, catching friend and foe alike in its wake. When the chaos finally subsided, Alina looked out upon a scene of utter devastation. Iceball was no more, reduced to a field of drifting debris. But amidst the destruction, a beacon of hope shone bright. "Admiral," Khan reported, his voice filled with awe, "we're picking up Colonel Volkov's transponder." They made it. A cheer went up across the bridge, echoed throughout the fleet. Against all odds, they had done it. They had struck a crippling blow against the crystalline Concordat and emerged victorious. As the human fleet regrouped, tending to their wounded and salvaging what they could, Alina couldn't help but feel a sense of grim satisfaction. The Concordat had thought to make an example of humanity. Instead, humanity had turned the tables, sending a message that would resonate across the stars. The battle was won, but Alina knew the war was far from over. Yet for the first time since this conflict began, she allowed herself to feel real hope. Humanity had proven itself on the galactic stage, and the tide of the war was turning. As rescue ships retrieved Alexei and his team from the debris field, Alina turned to her XO. "Send word to Earth. Operation Frozen Vengeance was a success. And tell them to prepare for the next phase. We're taking the fight to the heart of Concordat space." The message was sent, and across the galaxy, those who had lived in fear of the crystalline Concordat began to whisper a new name: Earth. The sleeping giant was awake, and the era of Concordat dominion was coming to an end. A new galactic order. The Great Hall of the Galactic Conclave buzzed with anticipation. Representatives from 1,000 worlds filled the chamber, their diverse forms a testament to the vast tapestry of life that populated the Milky Way. At the center of it all stood Admiral Alina Reyes, her weathered face a map of the long, grueling war that had brought them to this moment. 5 years had passed since Operation Frozen Vengeance. 5 years of brutal conflict that had seen humanity push the crystalline Concordat back to the very heart of their territory. Now, on a neutral world at the galaxy's edge, the fate of civilizations hung in the balance. Alina took a deep breath, steeling herself for what was to come. She thought of Earth, of Iceball, of all the worlds and lives lost in this terrible war. With a nod to the conclave's speaker, she stepped forward to address the assembly. Esteemed representatives of the galaxy, she began, her voice carrying to every corner of the vast chamber. We stand at a crossroads. The crystalline Concordat, which for millennia sought to remake the galaxy in its image, lies defeated. Their leaders await judgment, their empire in ruins. A murmur rippled through the crowd. Alina continued, her voice gaining strength. But victory has come at a terrible cost. Worlds burned, species extinguished, civilizations toppled. We must ask ourselves, what now? Do we answer cruelty with cruelty? Do we become that which we sought to destroy? She paused, her gaze sweeping the chamber. Humanity entered this war as newcomers to the galactic stage. We were seen as primitives, easy prey for the Concordat's ambitions. But we proved that the measure of a species lies not in the age of their civilization, or the advancement of their technology, but in the strength of their spirit and the depth of their compassion. Holographic displays flickered to life around the chamber, showing scenes from the war, but instead of battles, they depicted moments of cooperation. Human medics treating alien wounded, joint scientific endeavors that had led to breakthrough technologies, allies of different species fighting side by side against the Concordat. We propose a new path forward, Alina declared. Not an empire, not a tyranny, but a true federation of equals. A galactic community where the rights of all sentient beings are respected, where knowledge is freely shared, and where the strong defend the weak. She gestured, and a new hologram appeared, a complex legal document that was the result of years of negotiation and compromise. Before you is the Charter for the United Galactic Federation. It enshrines the principles of self-determination, mutual defense, and collective progress. It provides a framework for peaceful resolution of conflicts and cooperative exploration of the universe. The chamber erupted into discussion, representatives debating furiously among themselves. Alina waited patiently for the noise to subside before continuing. As for the crystalline Concordat, she said, her tone somber, we do not seek their extinction. Instead, we offer a chance at redemption. Those who renounce the old ways and agree to abide by the Federation's laws will be welcomed as equals. Those who do not will be contained, but not destroyed. We must break the cycle of violence that has plagued our galaxy for too long. A hush fell over the assembly as the weight of Alina's words sank in. It was a radical proposal, extending mercy to a foe that had shown none, offering unity where once there was only conquest. The speaker of the conclave, a being of pure energy contained within an ornate mechanical shell, floated forward. You ask much of us, Admiral Reyes. Many here have suffered greatly at the hands of the Concordat. How can you assure us that this federation will not simply become another tool of human dominance? Alina nodded, having anticipated this question. Because humanity will hold no special place within the Federation's power structure. We will have a voice, yes, but no more or less than any other member species. Our role in defeating the Concordat does not grant us the right to rule. She paused, then played her final card. Moreover, we come before you not to demand, but to request. Earth and her colonies formally petition for membership in this new federation. We place our trust in the collective wisdom of the galaxy. The chamber erupted once more, but this time the tone was different. Surprise, respect, and cautious hope colored the debates that raged across the floor. Hours passed as questions were asked, clarifications made, and compromises reached. Through it all, Alina stood firm, a beacon of humanity's determination and adaptability. As the conclave's final vote approached, a familiar face appeared at Alina's side. Zalthyrix, the former emissary of the crystalline Concordat, now a key defector who had aided the Alliance in the final pushes of the war. "You continue to surprise us, Admiral," Zalthyrix said, its crystalline form shimmering with subdued colors. "When we first encountered your kind, we thought you primitive, easy to subjugate. We could not have been more wrong." Alina allowed herself a small smile. "That's humanity's greatest strength, Zalthyrix. We're full of surprises." The speaker called for order, and a hush fell over the chamber. "We will now vote on the ratification of the United Galactic Federation Charter and the admission of its first members." What followed was the most important roll call in galactic history. One by one, representatives of 1,000 worlds cast their votes. Some were enthusiastic, others reluctant, but as the tally grew, a clear consensus emerged. When the final vote was cast, the speaker's voice rang out with historic weight. "The Charter is ratified. The United Galactic Federation is hereby established." A cheer went up that shook the very foundations of the chamber. Centuries of conflict, of fear and mistrust, began to melt away in the face of a new era of cooperation. As the celebrations erupted around her, Alina found a quiet moment to reflect. She thought of Captain Reyes stepping onto that alien station all those years ago, of Colonel Volkov sacrificing everything to deny Iceball to the enemy, of countless humans and aliens who had given their lives to make this moment possible. A ping from her communicator broke her reverie. It was a simple message from Earth. "We're proud of you. All of you. Come home soon." Alina smiled, tears pricking at the corners of her eyes. They had done it. Against all odds, humanity had not only survived its trial by fire, but had helped forge a new future for the entire galaxy. As representatives from 100 worlds approached to shake her hand, offer congratulations, or simply gaze in wonder at the human who had helped reshape the cosmos, Alina allowed herself to feel, for the first time in years, a sense of true hope. The galaxy would never be the same, and humanity, the upstart species from a backwater world, had proven once and for all that they were a force to be reckoned with, not through conquest or subjugation, but through perseverance, adaptability, and an unshakable belief in a better tomorrow. As the newly formed United Galactic Federation prepared to take its first steps into a brighter future, one thing was certain: the stars themselves would long remember the day that humanity rose to meet its destiny.